Hey guys, welcome to Crunch Time. It's episode 9. I just want to say before we start, if you like the show, if you watch the show, please subscribe to the YouTube page so you can get all the updates on when the new shows are coming out. First thing that we want to talk about tonight, winter meetings have started. Baseball season is upon us, sort of. And the Yankees are out there trying to make deals already. As always, Brian Cashman saying that he's not going to do anything, saying he's going to stay quiet, not do too much. And then he goes out and does something shocking to me. He gets a second baseman under the age of 30 years old, which seems shocking for the Yankees. Goes out to the Cubs and gets Starlin Castro to replace the hole that we have at second base. Greg, how do you like the move by Brian Cashman to go out and get Starlin Castro?
Great move. I mean, if you only got to give up Adam Warren and Brandon Ryan, then
yeah, exactly.
I mean, one thing obviously that Brian's wanted to do is to bring youth into the team, and I think he's doing that. I think with the emergence of Didi Gregorius last year, and now bringing in Starlin Castro, who was a three-time All-Star at shortstop, and getting him to buy in and being able to move him to second base, kind of shores up the middle infield. Chase Headley played really well for us last year at third. And if, Mark Teixeira, he's an older guy, he's injury prone. If he's not able to do it, we got Greg Bird. We saw him last year. So, I mean, he's going to start off in the minors, probably come spring training. But, the first sign of Mark Teixeira going down, you have a quality.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I mean, I like the move by the Yankees. I like getting younger. I like having a second baseman and a shortstop that are young and can grow with the team. And I also like that the Cubs moved him to second and we didn't have to. He's already coming in. He knows how to play second. He knows the game. But for me, I hope this isn't it. We need starting pitching. I think there's a lot of pitchers out there that we need to go take a look at. And I think Jose Fernandez is one of them.
Yeah. I mean, if you're able to put Jose Fernandez into our lineup, and Tanaka's able to stay healthy, and some of the emergence of some of those younger players from last year, it is. I mean, at this point with the Yankees, I think we're starting to see, Cashman starting to put in place, instead of going out and signing the big-time free agent. Thank God we passed over David Price. I think he would have been a formidable, pitcher into our lineup. But at the age of 30, getting a 7-year deal from Boston, even if he pitches, 2 or 3 good years, they're going to see the same problem that we saw with the back end of CeCe's contract. So if they don't win a World Series, it doesn't pay off. And I think the Yankees are starting to move away from, going out and buying these big-time free agents and starting to go, a little bit more homegrown talent and trying to build more for the future. So
we're going after a lot of younger pitchers, I know, in the minor league system, and that's a waiting process, which is something that we're not really used to. We're not really used to. Let's wait and see what happens with these young guys. I want to win now. I'm a Yankee fan. I want to win now, and I like the moving younger and seeing what happens. But we need to make a splash. We haven't made a splash since George died. I need something that's gonna. And getting a 38-year-old Carlos Beltran is not making a splash. That's just me as a Yankee fan. I'm not a patient guy. I want to win now. I'm not, the Milwaukee Brewers where I got 30 years of losing to fall back on. You know what I mean? I want to win now.
You're right, but, professional sports, every team, takes a page out of, what's winning. I mean, you see what the Royals were able to do the last 2 years. You've seen what the San Francisco Giants were able to do, winning 3 out of 5. So, right now, if you can keep the temptation off of going out and signing a big-time free agent because he's, you're signing him to a big long-term deal, and then he's giving you 1 or 2 years before he's basically falling off the cliff. I mean, I didn't agree with the Beltran deal. I thought Jacoby Ellsbury was going to play out a lot better than it has, but he hasn't produced, so he's not living up to his contract. And, again, we gave a big contract to Teixeira. We gave a big contract to CeCe. They won us a World Series in 2009, which was great. But here we are in 2016, and, they can't finish the entire season for us, and we're still paying them top dollar. So, we saw it when Robinson Cano went out to Seattle. As much as he hates it out there, he chased the money. we saw it starting a couple years ago, and I think it's going to continue for a while.
Yeah, I can't justify giving those big contracts, those 10-year deals. The Ellsbury deal at the time I thought was a great pickup. I thought he was a young guy who had played well, a little bit of an injury problem, and then it turned out he had large injury problems. He didn't start the playoff game. But those guys are hit or miss. You don't know what you're going to get. I mean, the Orioles just offered Chris Davis a 7-year, $150 million contract, which I'm not sure he's going to take or not because I think he can get more elsewhere. But that's a long-term deal for a power hitter that you don't know what's going to happen in the next 7 years is a long time.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, like I said, you have to let things kind of come through. If you're the East right now is still up for grabs. I mean, just because Boston made a couple big moves doesn't mean that all of a sudden they jump from last to first. The Yankees didn't win, but we made the playoffs last year. We had a chance. We lost 2-0 in that wild card game to Houston. So, I mean, I think we're on the right steps. We didn't make the playoffs 2 years ago. We made the playoffs last year. We're building. We're trying to add youth to the team. And today, or recently with the Castro signing or trade, was a big move for him. So I'm okay getting younger, but you're bringing in good talent. I mean, he's still a 3-time All-Star. You're shoring up that middle infield. So now between Gregorius, who's 25, Castro, who's 25, and your corners, with Headley, Teixeira at the point, but possibly Bird in the future, I think you're shoring up that infield for a long, long time. So still think it was a good sign.
For Starlin Castro, I think it's a good situation for him too, because you come to a Yankee team who has struggled against left-handers and you're a right-handed hitter. You're hitting .265. You had a better second half of the season. And then you come in and you have some veteran leadership. You have Mark Teixeira, you have Alex Rodriguez, who are happy to show these young guys how to play the game and how to play it the right way. Yes, A-Rod, I understand, is not always the guy that plays the game the right way, but he can hit, and he knows how to hit, and he can show young players the way that they can better their game. I mean, Alex Rodriguez, to me, can be a great hitting coach in his future. But right now, for Starlin Castro, I would sit and listen and get as much information as possible from those guys and become, he's already an all-star, but he can become a great player, especially in this organization.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen players come here and really flourish. You hear about it with Robinson Cano. I mean, how much he misses New York, with that Latino, and that Hispanic culture that we have here in New York. I mean, I granted, I understand that Castro's coming from Chicago, and I'm sure there's, the culture is there in Chicago too. That's, he's probably accustomed to. But I just think, a change of an organization, maybe a little bit more professionalism, having someone like Alex on the team that can kind of mentor him a little bit. I think is gonna go a long way for him. And having Joe Girardi too, because I think Joe Girardi, players talk about him all the time. He's a player's coach. So if you can get Castro now, like I said, I keep stressing it. The guy's 25, so
I know
you're getting him early. You're getting him in the prime of his career, and I only hope and I wish the best things for him because as a Yankees fan, that's all you want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Shocking. 25 years old. We went out and got a guy who's 25 years old. And not only is he 25 years old, he's a good 25-year-old player. That's not something we do. We usually get guys on the tail end of their careers where he's a name and he puts on the pinstripes and, he sells tickets. But now we got something that's, I can sink my teeth into and I can get excited about, a young guy that I can probably have in the system for a couple of years. And I'm so glad now to have Starlin Castro and not have given Robinson Cano 10 years and $280 million. It's just fascinating to me on how great that is to me. But let's move off the Yankees. Let's get back into our favorite basketball team to talk about. It's the Golden State Show. That's all we talk about every time we're on here, but we have to. 23-0. The team is fantastic. Last night, Klay Thompson goes off for 39. Hurts his ankle a little bit, probably out for a game, maybe two. And he might even play. I'm not even sure. But, it doesn't have to be Steph Curry. Klay Thompson, 10 for 14 from three-point last night. just unbelievable. I can't stop talking about these guys and how great they are.
Yeah, I know you love them. You're like the little mascot for Golden State. Little boy from New Jersey loves the team in California.
I love the team that shoots threes.
You do. Look, I mean, what they're doing is unbelievable. I mean, they're showing you that whether they're 20 down or they're 20 up, they're able to win. Their defense is a lot better than people are giving them credit for. People are stepping up. Like you said, Klay Thompson went off last night, but you can't downplay how good Steph Curry is. I mean, last night he had 10 assists to go with his 29 points. So he's able to do it on whether he's dishing or whether he's shooting. Question for you, though, because, Curry came out. He said his goal is to be the greatest of all time. And for you and for me, the greatest of all time was Michael Jordan. Do you ever think that Curry's going to be able to be the greatest of all time?
That's such a tough question because, I mean, Michael, we were kids when Michael came out. You know what I mean? We were 1991. We were 7 years old, and he was the greatest thing. He was the greatest thing ever. So I don't know. I mean, the way he's playing, if he can play this way for 10 more years and just dominate and average 30 points a game, he's averaging 33 points a game. I mean, to go out and do that consistently for over a stretch of period of 8-9 years, then yes, I do think that he can be one of the greatest of all time. But Michael did stuff that we've never seen before, and yet Steph Curry's doing the same thing right now. So that's a tough question for me. I have to say no, just because of the way the NBA is these days. But he's probably the closest guy. I mean, LeBron is a different kind of animal because LeBron is more of a Magic Johnson type player where he's the most dominant, but I don't think he's the best, especially right now, the way Steph's playing. How do you feel?
Yeah, I don't think Curry will ever be able to be, the greatest of all time. Michael, obviously I think that he's the greatest of all time, but he did things defensively. He was able to shut down your best player. I don't know if Curry has the defensive ability to be able to do that. I think he's great. Quickness, he averages a good amount of steals each year, but I don't see him being able to be that lockdown defender that Michael, really didn't get as much credit for. Michael was a defensive player of the year one year, and he was constantly on the first team all defense. LeBron, Kobe, players like that, they could be as effective offensively and defensively. Same thing with the way Curry plays, the fact that he constantly has the ball in his hand. He's more of a, he's a shifty player. He's not that kind of player that's going to be able to back you down and really dominate you the way that Michael was able to sometimes, especially in his later years. But at the same time, if Curry starts, really putting up points, like you said, for the next, 8 to 10 seasons, and he really starts getting in that, top 8.
Yeah, but you know what, Greg?
He may be up there already. He may be considered, one of the best scorers of all time as well. So, best player, maybe not, but definitely up there.
But he has some of the traits. I mean, he makes everyone around him better, which is a trait that Michael had, which is a trait that LeBron has. Not so much a trait that Kobe has, but he makes everyone better. And, the way he scores, and I feel like his personality is something that if they tell him he can't play defense, that he's going to go out there and play hard defense. Like he's going to go out there in the offseason and say, okay, I'm going to be a lockdown defender, which is the same thing Michael did earlier in his career, because early in his career, he wasn't known for his defense. He was known for scoring, and he went out there and said, I'm going to prove you wrong, and I'm going to tell you that I can play defense. But again, this is not a defense league. I mean, games are ending in 100, 110, 120. That's how games are played now. I mean, back when we were watching when we were younger, games were ending 82, 85. I mean, that was a high game. So I don't think it's set up that way anymore. But last night they tied the streak, 27 games in a row. For the second longest streak. The longest streak is the Lakers in 71, I believe, and it was 33 games. With Klay Thompson going down last night with an injury, how important do you think to them the streak of 33 games and the streak of 72-10 is to them as far as winning a back-to-back title? Or is it important to, save some players and not get injured and make a run for the playoffs and do things the way that you're going to go for a championship?
If you don't win that ring, it don't mean a thing.
I agree.
I mean, that was the classic line from the 96 Bulls. They won 72 games, but they knew if they did not win that championship, streaks don't mean a thing. Regular season games do not mean a thing. Go ask LeBron if he thinks that a regular season game in, mid-December means anything to him. The old Lakers team, Shaq pretty much told you. He's like, I didn't really start playing until March. So I understand. I mean, it's great for the league. It's great for the fans. It's awesome to turn on the news every morning and see that the Warriors won again. Especially in the way that they won last night, where they were up big and then the Pacers came back and they were still able to beat them. But exactly, what's the point of putting Klay Thompson back into a meaningless game? Because what if he really does hurt his ankle there? Missing 1 or 2 games now. What if he was out and he missed 2 or 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's always more important to preserve your players. That way, you're ready for the playoffs. Because at the end of the day, the championship's the only thing that means anything.
You know what? For me, the way if I'm Golden State and the way that I think that these players feel, they want that streak. They want everything about it. Steve Kerr was on that team. I think that streak is in their minds and they want to beat that streak. Because beating that streak and going into the playoffs healthy, you win a championship. It's the perfect season. You do everything you accomplish. You win 80 games. You go out. I mean, they're, are they going to, when are they losing? Right now they can win 80 games. They haven't lost yet. It's ridiculous to say that, but right now they are on pace to win 82 games. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I think that streak is something that they are shooting for and something they want. And they're a young team and they're prideful and they want it. They're not the Spurs. They're not the Spurs where we know what championships, we know we have we need to win the championship. We need to rest. We need to keep our players, ready to go, blah, blah, blah. These are young guys. They want record books. They want that mountaintop. That's what they want. They want to be remembered forever. I mean, come on. If you're growing up and you're 28 years old, 27 years old, you grew up watching Michael Jordan. He's the greatest of all time. And now you beat him in a record that everyone thought was untouchable. Of course I want that.
Yeah, and that's where I think them being a young team may hurt them.
Oh, Greg, I think I lost you there, but
the NBA, it's great for the city. It's great for these players. But guess what? If the Clippers end up beating them in the Western Conference Finals, or San Antonio is holding up their 6th NBA championship, and all they have to hang their hats on is starting the season, beating a streak at 16-0, tying the Cavs at 27, or taking over the Lakers, at 33. But they don't have that ring at the end of the season. I think it's going to be sour grapes in their mouth. They're not going to be satisfied. They're going to say, you know what, I think we may have thrown this away. There's a reason why teams are sitting their top stars, every 12, 13 games. It's why San Antonio does it, because they know that there's going to be a long push at the end of the year.
Sure.
I'm happy. It's fun. It's exciting. It's great as a fan. But if I was in that organization, I may be saying, hey, look, Luke, it's time to put the brakes on some of these players. It's, if we don't get it, it's not the end of the world, because guess what? We still have another 60 games to play.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's a morale thing too. I mean, if you start pulling guys and they get close to that record and you're like, oh, we're going to sit you to go into the playoffs. Let's say you sit these guys and they've got 65 wins and 4 losses or something. You start sitting these guys and they start losing games and they lose in the first round of the playoffs. Then what do you got?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Let's call it Tom. let's call up Tom Brady and see how he feels. You know, he didn't get to go 17-0. You know, I mean, he won. You know, he won 16 regular season games, but he lost that last crucial one. So,
all right. So before we get off the topic of the Golden State Warriors, I want to ask you. They have 5 more games until Christmas, and I think their first loss, if possible, they lose on Christmas Day. The next 5 games, they don't play a team with a 500 record. The only team they play over a 500 record is the Boston Celtics, which they play on Friday night. So they play the Celtics, the Bucks, the Suns, the Bucks again, and the Jazz. And then Christmas Day, LeBron comes to town.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not playing against the odds here. I mean, I'm gonna say they win. You know, is that the question? Like, are they gonna win? Are they gonna lose before Christmas, or are they actually gonna lose on Christmas?
I think they lose. I think if it's possible for them to lose, I think LeBron is the guy to do it. And I think that I don't think that they lose before that.
The team that's going to beat them is going to be Chicago. I don't know why. Chicago spoiled the Cavs streak 2 years ago, and you know I don't know. Chicago's one of those teams. You know, Joakim Noah will shut down Curry somehow, but I don't know. I'm going to play the odds until they lose. I'm not going to say they're going to lose.
I know, it's just unbelievable.
You know, they're able to do what they can do. So.
Now, okay, so now as much as I love talking about Golden State and all the great things that is Steph Curry and Golden State Warriors, I now turn to the dumpster fire that is the NFC East. I can't even explain I'm ashamed to be a fan of a team that's in this division. I'm ashamed that a team in this division is going to host a playoff game, which seems just insane to me. But at this point, I have no idea who it is. You know, is it going to be my second place Dallas Cowboys? You know, 1 game out of first place. I mean, at 4-8, we're still in it. How is that even? Or 4-7? How is that possible? Giants, terrible loss. Redskins Cowboys game looked like it was a terrible game all the way until the last 5 minutes when they finally decided they can throw the ball. And then the Eagles. I think the Eagles have a great shot. They've been playing real well, but 1 week they scored 40 points, and the next week they don't know. They got DeMarco Murray talking to the president. They don't know what's going on. So, Greg, I'm going to ask you again, like I've asked you every week, whose division is this?
Oh, we're talking about the NFC East again?
Terrible.
You know what, though? I mean, out of anyone, you should be the most excited. I mean, you don't have a quarterback, and you're a game out. I mean, the Giants should own this division. The Giants should be 10-2. The Giants have lost 5 games holding a lead with 2 minutes left in the game. They've lost 4 games holding a lead with 1 minute left in the game.
Listen,
now, if we go back into
75 seconds shorter, the Giants would be 10-2 right now.
I know. And if we go back a couple shows, I said you are what your record is, and we can't say, oh, well, if we had won this, we had done that, we would be in first place. And now here I am doing it. So, I mean, it's very hypocritical of myself. But at the end of the day, it's like, come on. I mean, what happened on Sunday against the Jets is just I can't even explain it. I can't even explain it. How were you up 20-10 and you end up losing in overtime?
Yep.
I mean,
in your own building, it's a home game for you. You're playing the Jets. It's a hometown rivalry.
Not much, except for I know. I
mean, come on. I mean, listen, the problem with the Giants is they have no defense. Their defense is not what it is. They can't get after the quarterback. JPP in the club hand is doing as much as he can over there, but you can't. They're just not putting pressure on the quarterback. If you give Ryan Fitzpatrick time, I don't care how bad we all think Ryan Fitzpatrick is or how good we think he is, because I don't think he's that great. But if you give a quarterback time, any quarterback in this league can take advantage. So if you're giving him time back there and he can throw the ball around, you're going to lose because these quarterbacks have time. I mean, look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's been doing it for 1,000 years, it feels like. The guy stands up straight. He sits back there, he drinks a cup of coffee, and then he throws a touchdown pass. You need time in this league. And if you can't get pressure on the quarterback, you're not going to win games. I don't care how great your offense is. That's just not the way it's going to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just going back, who we think is going to win this division, it is such a crapshoot. It's unbelievable. I mean, we still don't know who Philadelphia is.
Oh.
The Giants do not want to play to the talent that they have on the field. The Redskins, kind of fumbled the fact that if they had beaten Dallas, they would have had a 2-game lead on everybody. And then Dallas is still there. Dallas just kind of sitting quietly in the corner and saying, hey, we didn't put Tony on IR for this exact reason. We're going to throw him back in the last 2 games and walk out as 7-9, divisional champs. It's going to happen. It's going to.
Listen, Cowboys play the Packers this week. It depends on what Packers team you get. Our defense has been playing well enough that we can kind of carry the game a little bit. But we got to start throwing the ball. Dez Bryant started to start getting some catches. He only had 2 catches last week. Start run the ball, throw the passes to the receivers. The guys that you pay big money for, and just don't turn the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, we got a shot. But again, it's the NFC. I don't know. This is worse than when the Seahawks won in 7-9 a couple years ago. This is worse than that because every team in that division and our division just looks like they're great and then they're terrible. Looks like they're great and then they're terrible. The Philadelphia Eagles beat the Patriots this weekend, and then this week I have a feeling they're going to go out and throw up a dud. I just don't know what to say anymore.
I don't know.
And neither do you.
It's the NFC East. I don't know. I don't know. Still going to watch the games. I don't even know which way to root for anymore,
I agree.
Everything's been a disappointment.
All right, Greg, before we go, let's look into the future a little bit. The college football playoffs have been set. Games are a little time away, about 3 weeks away on New Year's Eve. But I want to ask you your question. Ask you now, Clemson versus Oklahoma and Michigan State versus Alabama. Who you got?
I'm taking Clemson over Oklahoma. I watched that ACC championship game against UNC. Deshaun Watson, the quarterback for Clemson. I mean, he's a dual threat. He can throw, he can run. I think they're gonna. ACC's been pretty good in these championship series, so I think they'll take out the Big 12 in Oklahoma. And with a disappointing loss last year, I think Nick Saban's going to turn that Alabama team around, and I think run a little Henry all over Michigan State. So I'm going Clemson, Alabama, in the championship game.
Okay. See, now I'm same as you. Alabama, to me, I can't bet against Alabama. I don't know why. It's Nick Saban is just he seems to just always get it. He seems to always play big when the time is right. They're always in this. They're in the BCS. They're always up in the top 3, top 4, whatever. They're always there, and there's a reason for that. They're a championship-bred team. That organization just or that school, whatever you want to call it, they know how to win games. As for Clemson and Oklahoma, I don't know. Oklahoma to me has always been a football school, and Clemson to me has always just been an ACC team who hasn't been in the top 10, in a couple of years, and now all of a sudden they're first. I don't know. I want to go with the big school. I want to go with Oklahoma. I'm not saying the Clemson's not a big school, but I want to go with Sam Bradford's alma mater and go with Oklahoma.
And who are you going to take to win? To win it all.
To win it all. Listen, I actually want Michigan State to beat Alabama, but I think Alabama is good enough to win. I want Michigan State really bad because I know the basketball team has championships. Why not the football team? But I think I got to go with Alabama. I got to go with Alabama. I fucking hate Alabama, but I got to go with Alabama.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreeing with you. I don't think Alabama's going to lose to Michigan State. I cannot see Nick Saban allowing a second Big Ten school to beat them 2 times in a row or 2 years in a row like Ohio State did last year.
Yeah.
I'm going with Alabama. In the beginning of the year, Nick Saban said this was his best defense he's ever had. Statistically, they didn't really prove it this year, but if he thinks he's got that good of a defense, I'm going behind that. So I'm saying roll Tide. Roll Tide wins the national championship.
And what have we always learned since the beginning of when we started playing sports? Defense wins championships. And if you have a great defense, you can go out there and win championships.
Just like there's no I in team.
There's no I in team. There isn't me, though.
There isn't me.
All right, Greg. As always, great time, fun time. And I will see you next week.
Sounds good.